All right, let's get to it. The Kentucky Derby, it's 2 weeks behind us. It's Preakness week. And back with me, Jeff Holdorf and Mike Wilkening to talk about the second jewel of Thoroughbred Racing's Triple Crown. Gentlemen, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it as always. Before we look forward, let's take a look back. Jeff, you didn't have much of a Derby week as the Puma was scratched. So who ultimately did you settle on, Jeff?
You know, I really hardly played the race, to be honest with you. I ended up playing Dan and Bourbon on top in my exactas. I played a small bet into that. I had some pick threes and pick fours going into it that ended up not coming out the way I wanted it to. But I played Dan and Bourbon on top in the exactas, and boy, coming for home, I sure thought I had a shot, but came up just a wee bit short and didn't. It's amazing. They always say the Kentucky Derby, the race doesn't start to that last furlong of the Kentucky Derby, and boy, it shows itself more times than not.
Yeah, your Derby ended in the last furlong, but you did have a couple. You got to run for your money, if nothing else. Mike, you were on the other Japanese horse, Wonder Dean. As I took a look back at the chart and then again at the race, Wonder Dean had an eventful trip, putting it mildly.
A little closer than was expected. I tend to think, though, that as a general rule, if you can stay out of traffic in the Derby, be a little closer, that's typically the way to go. In a lot of ways, it wasn't, from a pace perspective, all that much different than he had in the UAE Derby. It just was a little bit tougher competition. I wasn't too unhappy with the trip and the way he ran. I think all things considered, I thought it was a bit of a wide open field. It
Mhm.
most certainly was, but that doesn't mean necessarily, and I think Jeff would agree too. The Japanese entrants are knocking on the
Yeah.
door on this, and what we saw, particularly from Danon Bourbon, that was a heck of a pace effort. And if foreign entrants can start to run with that U.S. pace and go on, we know they have the stamina on the bottom side. They're going to have one of these before long, so I think they're really close.
Yep, absolutely agree with you. My horse was Emerging Market. He sat in the second flight right behind the leaders, turned for home, and the gas tank was empty. So got nothing there. Although I did buy a Golden Tempo Exacta Saver, I was really disappointed with the price, boys. A $48 winner, an 18 horse field, $48 winner on top. There were five horses from 5 to 1 to 10 to 1, and a dollar one only paid a dollar 139. I thought that was a little short, to
Yeah,
be
I agree with you, Ken. It definitely seems short. Your price came in when you could find Ocelli in third, and your
yeah.
trifectas and superfectas. That's what really made the day for those that were able to hit the all button or actually had some reason to pick Ocelli in third.
Well, we've got a chance to bet Ocelli this week again as Ocelli's back in the Derby. We'll get to him in a second. Let's go through it as we always do. It's race 13 post time for the Preakness at 6 o'clock. Prairie Meadows going to run one live race prior to the Preakness at 5, then resume the card at 6:30 with the remainder, the final six races on the day. So another day, another short day after the Preakness will be run, just six races following that. But so let's get into it. Taj Mahal is an interesting shooter. Certainly, this is the quote local horse, and we've seen local horses not win, but certainly get close before. Although I don't think Loma's Ruler was a local horse. The jock was locally based in Jack Cannell. But Taj Mahal, Jeff Holdorf, let's start with you. Your thoughts?
Well, I think first, before you start diving into everything, we have to remember that the Preakness is being run at Laurel Park as opposed to kind of the tighter turns of Pimlico that everybody's used to seeing. So that's certainly, if you start looking at a lot of historical Preakness handicapping, that all has to be kind of thrown out the window because Laurel Park is definitely a different racetrack, being all about 35 miles from Pimlico. So your typical handicapping kind of changes a little bit. But with Taj Mahal, yep, you get Brittany Russell, a tremendous trainer. She's always over 30% at the Laurel meet. When her husband Sheldon rides, as Sheldon's riding with Taj Mahal here, they hit at a 38% clip. So obviously a little different company here in the Preakness, but the Russells certainly make their money in the state of Maryland, and they've got a darn good one in Taj Mahal. I went back and watched that Federico Tessio Stakes a couple of times, and that was a really impressive run by Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal blew that race open by about 10 lengths, and then kind of settled down and just relaxed a bit, let the field approach, and came within a couple of lengths, and then had a second break and turned the afterjets on and won again by 8.5 lengths. Got a good Equibase number, 97 in the race. My biggest problem with this horse is not sure the competition level, and holy cow, as we get through this, it is going to be speed, 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 and I don't know who's going to be left of the speed horses by the time we come rolling down that Laurel stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly one of the angles of this race. I wasn't excited about this race at all, but then the entries were drawn, and I think this might be the best, worst Preakness potentially we've ever seen. I think this is a lot of fun, fellas. I love it from a gambling perspective. Mike Wilkening, Taj Mahal.
The pace numbers that I use have him as one of the horses that could be at the back of this if you just look at first quarter fractions. I don't believe that necessarily. He's been forward, but he was when he broke his maiden on February 6th. I mean, he was 24 and 3/5 to the opening quarter, 48 for the half. I mean, look, it's Laurel's not particularly a swift track, but I mean that's kind of plodding. What the point is here is I think actually this probably helps him in terms of the draw. The fact he has come off the pace and won. I think he's going to have to do that on Saturday. He might get first run at this if he sits fifth or sixth, if he's able to do that. I agree with Jeff that I think the thing about the Tessio that you've got to look at is, yeah, 47 and 8 to the half, a buck 14 and change to the three quarters. I do think he shut off a little bit. I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. And then he galloped them away. I tend to think his maiden race and the way he ran is probably the way he's going to have to run here. I think he's got a heck of a chance. He's certainly, to me, one of the top three in this race.
Interesting. Here comes Oselli. I wonder about Oselli and the connections catching Derby fever. I remember Patio Prado. I thought that they should have skipped the Preakness and waited for the Belmont, the connections. They were so convinced they were going to win the Derby. So was I, by the way. But didn't happen. He finished third to Super Saver. Oselli coming back. He'll be one of the ones running late, Jeff Holdorf.
Yes, indeed, and that's going to be the style I think that's going to be very productive in this Preakness. Third in the Kentucky Derby, as you mentioned. That was the best finish for a maiden in a Kentucky Derby race in 89 years. So certainly nice ground to cover for a horse that cost $12,000. They've certainly made their money already, so I think they're playing with house money and figured horse came out of that race well. You see what kind of race this is going to set up like? Let's take our shot at the Preakness. Whit Beckman trainer, Tyler Gaffleone's back on for the multiple owners. Having a lot of fun. Why not? Deep closer. We'll see if it comes running again. The numbers certainly indicate that this horse has the opportunity if the race falls apart, like a lot of us think it will, with 6, 8 horses duking it out for the lead. Late closers certainly could have a nice opportunity, but you haven't seen a lot of consistency, which is not a surprise out of a $12,000 maiden. The Virginia Derby, the horse was 6th. The Sam F. Davis, the horse was 6th and didn't run a particularly good race, so was probably rightfully priced at 70 to 1, came rolling home for third, and for a moment almost looked like he had a chance to win the Kentucky Derby and break his maiden all at once.
At 16th pole, I think he was in front. Will you be using Oselli, Mike?
I will be. I think he's got a huge chance. I think the thing, the last two races have been illustrated for him. The Wood, they really changed the tactics with him to really sort of drop anchor. And even if you go way back to his maiden race, was 10th there and kind of, came and made a little bit of a run. But his style is very clearly to drop back and make that one run. Gaffleone did a wonderful job in the Derby. It's clear he's going to get a lot of pace to run at, is going to draw well. I think the only concern, again, is kind of coming off the 2 weeks. But this is a horse that pretty remarkably finished faster in the Derby than he did in the Wood at a longer distance. So clearly the 9.5 panels is going to hit him right between the eyes. So again, I think he's a major player in this race.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what to make of him. The 2 weeks, the quick back worries me a little bit about him. Number 3 is, I think we call it Crouper. Jeff Holdorf, this horse arrives from a minor stake at Oaklawn Park, where yes, he did get the money. Your thoughts on the three Junior Alvarado 30-1 morning line?
Yeah, Kruper, certainly a soft spot for this horse in the hearts of many of us in the Midwest. Trainer Donnie K. von Hemmel, how exciting to see him get a shot here in the Preakness. I don't think the horse has the ability. You go back and you watch the Bathhouse Roast Stakes at Oaklawn. That's how the winner of that gets the automatic berth into the Preakness. It was kind of a grinding effort down the stretch. Beat Chad Allen and Honey's to Blame after coming off a third place finish and an allowance optional claimer. Time coming out of that race was not all that impressive. The horse dug in well and was game down the stretch, but I think this is just too big a step after grinding it out at Oaklawn. I think you're going to have to sit right off the pace and be able to come with that big run. I'm not sure that this horse has that ability, but I guarantee you I won't have a ticket on Kruper. But if Kruper's right there at the top of the lane, I'll be running. I'll be yelling like hell for Donnie K, and would love to see him win one. His brother Kelly's been a trainer at Prairie Meadows for decades. Dad Don von Hemmel, I think he's about to celebrate his 92nd birthday if he hasn't already. And just a wonderful horse racing family where all three of them are in different Hall of Fames in horse racing, and you're never going to meet a nicer family in horse racing than the von Hemmels. So. Don't think the horse has it, but my heart will certainly be rooting for Kruper in this race.
Yeah, I think he's a cut below. Do you, Mike?
I would like this horse more if he had shown at some point more of a closing kick. Again, he's been kind of on or attending paces that aren't all that swift. Certainly is bred to run all day. The mare actually debuted at Arlington Park on the 4th of July in 2009. Probably saw a run.
Wow.
So I mean, look, I think there's a lot to respect about the connections, as Jeff said. I do think it's a little much. I looked hard at this one to say maybe there's a way, and I'm not saying it's not impossible that I don't use this one if I play around in tries or superfectas, because it's certainly bred to run all day, and I think Alvarado's going to hopefully deliver a nice chilly ride, but he's never displayed the tactics I think that he's going to have to show today to win it.
The four horses Robusta, and if somebody would have quizzed me, there are three horses in the Derby that are coming back in the Preakness. Can you name them? I might have got it by a guess, but I forgot all about Robusta. The 23 horse in the Derby, never used it on any of my tickets. I was kind of late to the party to get into it. You give Robusta any chance? Another big price here. Rafael Bejarano rides the four Robusta. Holdy?
Yeah, great to see veteran rider Rafael Bejarano grab another ride in a Triple Crown race, but this horse came off the West Coast circuit, which we have all has been fairly well documented, has not been a very difficult circuit this year. Certainly not seeing the big Baffert horses that typically come through the West Coast circuit. The horse has been, had its best success when leading on the front. Again, in a race that's going to be full of speed, certainly not going to be a tactic that's going to be conducive to being successful. Seventh in the Santa Anita Derby, sixth in the Robert Lewis. We haven't seen this horse in the winner's circle since January 9th when he broke his maiden at Santa Anita. One decent work, but this is going to be one of the many pace horses. It's going to have to improve an awful lot or try a different tactic and try to inject enough pace to sit off and be able to pounce, but I just don't think Robusta is near the caliber and kind of falls into that path of West Coast horses that just can't compete with the rest of the country this year.
Yeah, I don't like him. Do you like him, Mike?
I think he's going to run better than he did in the Santa Anita Derby and the Kentucky Derby. I don't know if he can factor. I think his last two races, the Santa Anita Derby, there wasn't as much pace. He ended up on or near the lead. I don't think that's his game necessarily. In the Derby, he just was, I think, too far back and wide. You look at his San Felipe. He was second again at 67-1 that day.
Mm.
That performance is probably one of the better prep performances we've seen in this field. He's gonna be a zillion to one. If somebody talked themselves into this horse, is the ultimate. And we've seen horses in this race kind of come way off form and then run well 2 weeks later. He's not impossible. I like him more than I should. I probably abridged too far, but I'm telling you, this horse does at least in, and again, it speaks to the nature of this race.
Yeah.
This horse, at least in his bag, has something that could look like a race that could put him in the frame here. And there aren't many horses in this race that can say that.
Yeah, this is an intriguing race. I like this race and I didn't. I'll tell you who I do like, and we're going to get to number 5 talking next. I kind of like this talking horse. A little bit camera shy, broke his maiden at Saratoga, and well, that's been it. This running the bluegrass. Sure, he was third beaten 12, but further ado, run off and won by 11 on the bluegrass, the Keeneland Oval. I kind of like talking. Holdy, am I nuts?
I don't think so. I mean, the horse was sick and missed 3 months, and that certainly hampered the improvement of this horse. As you're right, heading into the spring of the 3-year-old year, so missed basically from December after the Remsen all the way to March, a fifth place run in the Tampa Bay Derby. I think the horse has a lot of ability. It was a $600,000 September yearling purchase, so obviously the owners saw an awful lot in this horse they liked. Horse is getting healthy, getting back, but how much of missing those 3 months did it take out of the horse? But fired a nice 47-4, 4 furlong work, best of 104, showing some speed. Danny Gargan certainly knows what he's doing. One little fun fact in relation to the Preakness, Danny Gargan's dad was the jock aboard Fishwife that won the 1973 Black-Eyed Susan, as it was called back then. So Danny Gargan has some history with this race. You grab the services of Irad Ortiz Jr., and boy, that right there in and of itself is going to attract money to talking. Just seeing Irad jump aboard that horse. So certainly is a chance, and I want to see how much this horse continues to improve, and horse is working well. I think it's a horse you certainly have to factor underneath in this race.
Yeah, I'm using him for those very reasons. Irad Ortiz moves this horse way up. Let's go to talking, Mike Wilkening.
I wanted to get there with him. I couldn't quite, but I
Mhm.
wouldn't talk anybody off of him, to coin a phrase and make a pun.
Yeah.
But because he's certainly bred to, you would think to like this distance, but his form just doesn't, it's not adding up in terms of the further he's gone, and even in his maiden breaking win, we're just not seeing a ton of late kick. And to me, he's more of a 7 furlong mile type horse, but it is a good upgrade from a rider standpoint. I would presume he's going to be back a little bit more. He did kind of come from a little bit back in the Champagne to get second, beaten by Napoleon Solo. I wouldn't talk anybody off of him. He's almost certainly going to have the best shot, I think, at running well as he's had in some time. I just couldn't quite get there.
All right, 20 to 1. I'm guessing he'll go off a shade lower than that. Let's get the Chief Honcho, Holdy. Jose Ortiz won the Derby, tries to put him back to back. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Jose Ortiz, chance to win the Triple Crown himself as a rider. Nobody has ever done that in the history of the Triple Crown series, to win all 3 of the Triple Crown races on a different horse. Obviously, you assume Jose Ortiz will be back aboard Golden Tempo in the Belmont, but it'd
I
be
don't know how you can spin the Derby winner.
yeah. But assuming Golden Tempo goes in the
Sure.
Belmont, which
Yeah.
but yeah, it'd be kind of fun to see a jockey win the Triple Crown aboard different horses, which obviously has never been done. Chip Honcho, well, it's a horse I've really struggled to figure out. I think Asmussen had big hopes and dreams with this horse, and a good second in the Risen Star back in I think that was on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, led till about the last 4 strides of that race. Paladin came rolling home to just nip Chip Honcho at the wire. Beat Golden Tempo that day, who was third. So certainly, that was a wonderful race. And then comes back in the Louisiana Derby and just, is right there at the top of the stretch and is absolutely empty and finishes 5th. Again, good horses in that Louisiana sector this year. Emerging Market, Pavlovian, Golden Tempo, as we mentioned, Paladin. Certainly was running strongly with those, but boy, I really had a problem with that Louisiana Derby race where that horse had every chance in the world and just came up empty. And this is going to be a horse that I'm going to take a swing against. I'm not convinced this horse is going to be able to hang in there. My pace numbers don't care for it. Horse hasn't won since the Gunrunner Stakes back in December. Horse seems to be regressing a bit. Obviously, it's a big upgrade to pick up the services of Jose Ortiz, the younger brother of Irad, and two of the best jocks you're going to find in North America. And you get a great trainer in Steve Asmussen. I think he's had a little success here back in the day at the Preakness, training Curlin and Rachel Alexandra back in the couple of decades back. But and we know that it's not that uncommon for Asmussen to pick this route. You know, skip the Derby and kind of point for the Preakness. He's done that before, but I just don't like the direction this horse is headed. So Chip Honcho is going to be a no thank you for Jeff.
Yeah, I watched Curlin's Preakness the other day. I didn't think he was going to get there, but I know the history books say he did, and I watched it again, and he did get there in a final jump. Chief Honcho, Mike Wilkening, you on him?
We'll probably use him defensively. I do think of all the pace horses, he's probably the one shown probably the most guts, I think. I think the concern with him, again, is to keep sort of going back to this, is I think overall this pace setup is going to be testing. If he's going to be up near the front, he's going to have to really work for it. And he's not someone that has, really finished with a ton of speed once he gets to about that final kind of eighth of a mile or thereabouts. I mean, in the Gunrunner, and he was two at the time. Even that last, sort of 16th of a mile looked like it was testing him. And I'm not so sure he wants to go this far. I respect that they've pointed to this. And I think Asmussen has to be respected doing it. I think if he's going to certainly fire a better shot than he did in the Louisiana Derby. I just don't know how far he really wants to go, but I will probably use him just a little bit in the event that they do figure out kind of what it is that's sort of held him back, because to me, he at least again has someone that has carried his speed a bit and hasn't completely quit in the end there. So, a little too much, I think, though, for him.
The hell we did is the seven horse Luis Saez rides him. I saw him in the Lexington where he finished second. It's that New Mexico form I can't get past. Holdy, your thoughts on the hell we did?
Yeah, we've occasionally seen some good horses come through that New Mexico circuit.
I
But
remember one Van Din one day and won the Kentucky Derby with Calvin Burrell aboard.
absolutely. And Trader Todd Fincher certainly dominates on that circuit, and you have to respect anything he sends out. But yeah, again, you certainly question, how good of a circuit have you been seeing down in the Southwest? An excellent second in the Lexington Stakes behind the 32-1 bomb trendsetter that day for Ben Colebrook, and it was a well-run race, but you finished second. You couldn't win the Zia Park Juvenile. You broke your maiden at Remington. I think there's an opportunity for this horse to continue to improve, because that Lexington Stakes was his first time running a route, and he certainly fared well. And if you look for an opportunity to improve in your second route race, now granted this is going to be a lot stiffer competition than the hell we did's ever seen, but if you see that horse move a step forward in a second route, has that deep closing running style, race falls apart up front. I think kind of as Mike was talking about with Chip Honcho, he wants to play Chip Honcho defensively in some of the under parts of his gimmick. I think I want the hell we did underneath in some of my gimmicks as well, because I think we could see this horse improve and come running and kind of shock the field at a big price come Saturday.
Never forget being on the backstretch at Churchill Downs when Mind That Bird arrived. The trainer's leg was broken. He had a beat up old pickup truck and a 2-horse trailer. Fast forward to Saturday, and here he comes. And he never won another race, I don't think, after that day.
I don't think he did either.
He won the race that mattered. The hell we did, Mike Wilkening. You going to use him?
I may a little bit on the bottom side. I will say Jeff really put together, I think, what would be a good case for him, and actually kind of encouraged me to take a little bit of a second look as we were chatting here. And I would agree, a little bit more of that ability to come off the pace than maybe I was giving him credit for. Um, I think what sort of has colored my analysis of him has been the Lexington really, I don't think was all that strong. And Trendsetter came back last week and, was beaten 5 lengths in the Peter Pan, which didn't come back fast. So, on the other hand, this is second time routing. He probably does have the right running style. Is he good enough? Look, in this field, maybe it's not an operative question. I mean, it's somebody's got to win it. So why not him, I suppose. But so perhaps I'd use maybe on the bottom a little bit, but I'm not sure he's one of the top 4 or 5 contenders in this race.
Either of you playing bull by the horns?
I am not, but you certainly have to respect anything Saffy Joseph Jr. sending to the race. This horse won with Johnny V aboard at the Rushaway at Turfway. A lot of questions. If this horse maybe just prefers the Tapeta or the synthetic. Horse does have the right style. He'll be running late, but boy, his dirt form has just looked dreadful.
Well, we asked this question before the Derby. I didn't think I'd get any takers on Wonder Dean, and Mike Wilkening put his hand up. You put your hand up for Bull by the Horns. Where are you on this one?
I'm using this horse.
Are you?
I'm using it.
Yeah.
And it's a pace play. And look, look at I used a number of speed figures, and the buyers on this one are pretty dire. I mean, if you just use buyers, does not look like he looks more like a Thursday horse than a Saturday horse,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
I do like the running style. Visually liked what I saw in the Rushaway. Yeah, the Fountain of Youth was not that great. I can't wholeheartedly endorse him as somebody that I'd love on the win end of things, but he is going to be 1,000,000 to 1, and I think it's entirely possible he clunks up for a piece of this and really spices up the tries and supers. So he is someone I'm going to have on my tickets on the bottom, because it's very possible somebody like this is the one that kind of picks it up.
That's why this race to me is absolutely so intriguing. Well, Iron Honor is the 9 horse. After I went through the card a number of times, I thought this was the most probable winner. I know I like talking. I also like Iron Honor. Do you, Holdy?
I think you have to like Iron Honor. Horses of horse. I guess if you go back and you watch the Gotham, was a really nice win at the Gotham, nice win, maiden special weight. Certainly a disappointing race at the Wood, but you've got the connections. Chad Brown looking for his third Preakness. He knows the path of doing it. He did it with early voting. He did it with cloud computing. You acquire the services of Flavian Pratt. St. Elias has ownership. St. Elias has ownership in Golden Tempo, so you kind of opportunity here. If Iron Honor can get the job done, St. Elias could be looking to have a shot at the ownership type Triple Crown. Works were not impressive. He's been working at Belmont Park, but he needs to settle. He seems like a horse that, if you watch his other races, sometimes struggles to settle a little bit. So they're going to go with first-time blinkers off in this race. See if they can get the horse to settle a little bit. Kind of like I said with the Kentucky Derby, when Chief Wallaby was making an equipment change with the blinkers there. I don't know that I'm crazy about making an equipment change in a big race like this, but Iron Honor is going to go blinkers off, and we'll trust Chad Brown knows what he's doing here, and I think the horse certainly has a big opportunity.
Do you like him, Mike?
I don't. I think he's a sprinter miler. I think he had a real. The wood trip wasn't perfect. He got bumps going into the first turn. Was wide, but he was under a drive about a half mile out, and never really picked it up. And I know that the pace figs say, yeah, that was a little bit testing, and that'll come up when we get to Napoleon Solo as well. But this, if there was a speed horse in this race that really wanted to route that came out of the wood, I think they would have shown it under the circumstances on that day. And, Iron Honor really didn't. I mean, he wasn't beating that many lengths. I think he could be a brilliant sort of turn back type eventually. And you never put anything past Chad Brown in terms of being able to find and bring a horse to a new level. You know, I've said all this, and his overall form still, like, relative to this race, he probably should be one of the favorites. Um, Defensively for me at best, though, I don't think he wants to go this far.
Napoleon C solo. Jeff, does he want to go that far?
I am not certain he does, but you go back and you look. If he can recreate what he did in the Champagne last October, holy cow, that was an amazing race. But since then's been a little flat. Has had foot issues. Was scheduled to go in the Arkansas Derby. Scratched out of the Arkansas Derby. Went ahead and ran a nondescript fifth in the Fountain of Youth. Led the Wood Memorial. Faded at the end. Not sure that they've been able to recreate what they had in the Grade 1 Champagne last October, but what an incredible race that was at Aqueduct. 44 and 1 to the half, 107 and 4 to the 3/4. Still drew off to win by 6.5. Boy, if you could bottle that race back last October for Napoleon Solo, you'll be sitting in the winner's circle. But I'm not convinced with the foot issues that this horse had. I know Chad Summers is saying that this horse is healthy now, training back in regular shoes, back to his old self. I know they had a different type, and I'm not going to pretend to be a horse racing equipment expert, but had the egg shoe on the horse in the Wood Memorial, and Chad said he was just wanting to get the race into the horse. It wasn't necessarily at the Wood to win. Maybe a typical excuse that you hear from a lot of trainers when you don't win, but he said the foot issue has been solved. He's back into regular shoes, and he's been training and feeling more like his own self. So he could be a very dangerous horse at the right price if he is back to that form that we saw last fall.
Well, if he wins without me, Mike.
I feel like I'm using this entire field defensively, or saying that they could win. He has I mean, his Champagne's probably the best race that anybody's run in this field if he gets back there. But he hasn't yet, and many for the reasons we've talked about, and certainly maybe he's rounding back to form. He's certainly working wonderfully. But again, I kind of go back to the Wood. He led in that race, swift opening pace. I completely understand, but again, chance there to open up and didn't have anything. And I think it's going to be swift again here. So does that mean, can he rate in a route race? He came a little bit off the pace in his maiden debut at 6 furlongs at Saratoga. Can he do that? I I don't know with him. I'm not quite sure if they're going to take him off or they're going to send him. I mean, the workouts kind of say that they're going to send him. But if that's the case, there's a couple others we haven't talked about yet that he's going to have to outbreak. He's not for me on the win end, I would say.
No. In the interest of time, Corina Del Oro, anybody like this horse? Will you use him at all? He broke his maiden and tried the Grade 3 Lexington. Is he a pass for you too, Mike? Jeff's nodding his head, no shot.
Again, would never talk anybody off somebody in this race, but he's not for me.
All right, I keep waiting for Mike Wilkening's key. I'm thinking we're about to come across him. I know, Holdy, you like him as well. And I guess I shouldn't have said that. I'm not sure Mike likes Incredible, but I know you do, Jeff Holdorf. Your thoughts on the 12 horse?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity here for Incredibolt. I'm going to trust Riley Mott, and Riley Mott we trust here that he knows the horse came out of the Kentucky Derby, came out of it great, it's ready to go. As has been well documented, this is not the toughest Preakness that you've ever run across. And this horse, nobody was considering this horse was going to run till all of a sudden the entry box was there, and there Incredibolt's name was on Monday afternoon for Pin Oak Stud. Incredibolt's in the race. You get Jaime Torres back on. He's horse ran a very respectable 6 in the Kentucky Derby. You go back and you watch that race, and horse certainly had every opportunity. Didn't quite have the kick down the stretch that you needed, but not convinced you're going to need that kind of kick in this field. I mean, boy, they're calling this a Grade 1 race, and it's loosely to be called a Grade 1 with the way this field's assembled. But horse showed a great kick in the Virginia Derby when everything opened up down the rail for Incredibolt. I applaud the connections. I applaud Riley Mott for jumping in, saying, "Hey, we got a shot. Let's go for it. It's a Triple Crown race, and it's come up a little on the weak side, so we're going to take our crack. What the hell?"
Mike, is this your key?
It's not, but I think he's going to get. Uh, I think he gets second run,
Mhm.
and I think Taj Mahal will get first run, and I
Yeah.
think this one, the one advantage he has over my pick is that I think he just might be a touch more tactical, and that might be a huge advantage here. Um, Presuming he can stay off it a little bit. Now, here's the thing about Incredible. He's going to drop back. He's, breaking from the 12, so you figure he's going to make his way right to the rail. Um, you know, I thought his Derby was okay. I give him a little bit of an excuse. He still got outrun by the horse I like a little bit more in this one, but he's a must use. I'm glad they're taking a shot, and if he gets the Black Eyed Susans, I would not be surprised at all.
Great White. I couldn't imagine being an owner of Great White and to get a horse in the Derby and get all the way to the starting gate only to flip and have to be scratched. I mean, the disappointment. But here they are. They're back. They're in the Preakness and they've got an outside post, which tells me they've got to go, don't they, Holdy?
Absolutely, this horse has got to go. He's tried using different tactics, but yeah, for the most part, this horse has to be sent. And if this was like the old Miss America contest where you had the swimsuit competition, I mean, this is a beautiful horse, big, huge, 1,375 pound horse, and just looks fantastic on the track. He's just beautiful to see. But I'm not convinced this horse is all that keen on the dirt. He went to the lead in the Toyota Bluegrass. He's been mainly a synthetic horse at Turfway. This is a horse I'm not interested in playing until this horse shows me. Even though has some Uncle Mo in the horse, I'm not convinced the horse has what it takes to get to the top. And yeah, what a shame for the ownership connection to see the horse flip heading to the gate at the Kentucky Derby. And just fortunate that the horse came out of it all right and is good to run here this Saturday.
Does that keep you away from Great White, knowing what he experienced a couple of weeks ago, Mike, or do you like the horse at all?
I think he's a grass synthetic horse. I think you could have a lot of fun with him at Turfway over the winter. And if here's hoping he's well and runs a good race. And if dirt isn't for him, get him over to Ellis Park and start trying him on the grass, get him to Kentucky Downs. That's be exactly the path. I think this is his last real kind of big shot on dirt.
Yeah, huge and huge pots at Kentucky Downs. Well, here's Pretty Boy. I guess Pretty Boy Mia is what we're going to call him. He won an allowance optional claimer last time out, and that's good enough to get him into the Preakness. And he's only 15 to 1. I think this has a candidate to finish last, Holdy. What about you?
I think not to correct you, Ken. I think it's Pretty Boy Maya because I
Right.
believe the horse is named after the trainer Jeremiah Englehart.
There you go. Yeah.
So I think they refer to Jeremiah Englehart out on the East Coast as Maya, and I believe that's where the name came for this horse. And you get the services of Ricardo Santana in on this horse. Yeah, it's a very lightly raced horse that's improving. Yeah, I'm not convinced. I mean, that horse is going to have to send from the 14 hole, and like we said, I can't wait to see what the halftime of this race is going to be. Do you see a sub 45? Do you see 45 and change? That's where I believe this race is going to be, and I don't think Pretty Boy Maya, being as lightly raced as he is going to be able to get there. Been working at Saratoga breezing, but a speed horse leaving from the 14 hole with 8 others. I don't think the horse has much of a chance, but I'm going to defer to Mike and see if perhaps this might be one of his hidden plays.
Well, Mike, is it?
I'll have a few bucks on him. His was race two back. His maiden breaker was quite fast on the numbers I use, and um, his last race was pretty swift too. But the problem is, he's gotten good once they've added blinkers and gone to the lead, which is about the
Yeah.
worst possible strategy, and it's the worst possible post for him. He has to go.
Yeah.
Um, if you swap him with where Robusta is, for instance. I
Mhm.
would be much more interested because I think he probably would have gotten the lead clear from here. He's a pretty mover. I think he's a sprinter probably in the end of things. This is a lot to ask. He'd be really interested, and there's about five of these where you'd say he'd be really interested in the Whitney Stevens. He'd be nobody
Yeah.
wants to face crude velocity
No.
at the bottom of tickets again, but he's better. He- I have seen worse 15 to 1 shots, and I will tell you, he's not impossible here if everybody took back and he just got the lead. He's not impossible.
Hmm. Well, before we reconvene in 3 weeks, let's leave it with this. Who's going to win the Preakness, Jeff Holdorf? Your top pick is.
My top pick is Incredibolt. I think you're going to see all the gnashing of teeth for everybody that wants to change the Triple Crown series from the first week of May, first week of June, first week of July. When Incredibolt happens to get to the winner's circle for the Black Eyed Susan after coming off the Kentucky Derby 2 weeks ago, everybody's going to say, see, we don't need to change this. Everything's just fine, even though we all know that it's going to change and it needs to.
Absolutely. Who's your pick, Mike Oselli?
Ocelli over Incredible and Taj Mahal, but I'm gonna work like heck to get Bull by the horns in tries and supers and things like that. That'll probably be the way I play the race, is trying to see if that 8 horse gets in at the bottom, because I really think that's going to jazz up the exotics if it happens, and I think it's quite possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to go with number 5 talking. We're going to go away and we're going to come back again in 3 weeks and take a look at the final jewel of the Triple Crown. Gentlemen, enjoy the Preakness. Appreciate you being with us again. Prairie Meadows, we race at 5 o'clock, then we'll pause for the Preakness, resume at 6:30 with the remainder of our live card. For Jeff Holdorf, Mike Wilkening, I'm Ken Miller. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.